Every morning, right before the sun was fully up, she sat on the same bench just outside Jefferson College's front gate. Wrapped in a faded blue coat and worn scarf, she looked down as students passed by. Some avoided her eyes. Others dropped spare change into her small paper cup. Most didn't stop to talk. She never asked for anything, just sat there, quiet, watching, waiting. The students called her the bench lady. Some said she was harmless. Others made up stories. She lost her mind. She's always been homeless. No one really knows her. But one person noticed more than the rest: Professor Ellis. He taught American literature in room 204. Gray-haired, kind-eyed, always carrying a book tucked under one arm. He passed her every day, and every day he wondered, why does she sit here? Why this college? What no one knew was that the woman on the bench had once stood at the front of a classroom, not unlike the ones inside Jefferson College. One cold November morning, Professor Ellis decided to do something different. He stopped. "Good morning," he said gently. The woman looked up. Her eyes were tired but sharp, like they still remembered things most had forgotten. "I've seen you here before," he said. "Mind if I sit?" She nodded. They sat in silence for a while, just watching the students stream by. Then softly, she spoke. "Used to be on the other side of those gates," she said. "Now, I just sit outside him." Ellis turned to her. "You worked here?" She gave a soft, dry laugh. "Taught here, 10 years ago." Her name was Dr. Lillian Monroe. She had been a professor of philosophy. Sharp mind, tenure track, published papers. "But life has a funny way of pulling the rug out," she said. "My husband got sick. Medical bills piled up. He passed. I took time off. Then my position was replaced." She paused. "Then came the apartment. Then the car. Then this." Professor Ellis was stunned. But what he did next changed everything, not just for Lillian, but for everyone on campus. It was right before Thanksgiving break. Campus was buzzing with students rushing to finish assignments, dreaming of turkey dinners and a few days off. Professor Ellis walked into the dean's office that morning, with a folder in hand. "Her name is Dr. Lillian Monroe," he said. "She used to teach here. Her records are in the archives." I checked. The dean looked up, surprised. "That woman on the bench?" "Yes. And she still has the heart and the mind of a teacher." The dean sighed. "It's complicated, but not impossible." Ellis interrupted. "She doesn't need a full-time job. She just needs a place to feel human again." Later that afternoon, Ellis returned to the bench with a warm coat, a thermos of coffee, and an idea. "How would you feel about sitting in on a few classes?" he asked. Lillian blinked. "As a student, no," he smiled. "As a guest. As a teacher." She held the cup of coffee tightly, her fingers trembling from more than just the cold. "You'd really let me do that?" "Let you?" he said. "Lillian, this school needs you." "Ah!" Sometimes, a small door opens at just the right moment, and if someone is kind enough to hold it open, others can walk through too. Would you have stopped to talk to her? Tell us in the comments. Like this video if you believe everyone deserves a second chance. Subscribe for more real, powerful stories that touch the heart. Jefferson College was known for its red brick buildings, tall clock tower, and ivy-covered walls. It looked picture-perfect on brochures, but like any place, it had its blind spots. The college had dozens of classrooms, hundreds of students, and countless rules, but no one had a rule about bringing in someone like Lillian. So when Professor Ellis invited her into his classroom, a few heads turned. At first, students were confused. "Who is she?" they whispered. But the moment she began to speak, about truth, about purpose, about what it means to think for yourself, the room fell silent. She quoted Socrates without looking at notes. She asked questions that made students pause and really think. And when she smiled, it was like watching the past step gently into the present. That old classroom, with its squeaky desks and flickering lights, became something more. It became a bridge between who she was and who she still could be. As weeks passed, more and more students began arriving early, just to hear her talk. Lillian never came for money. She didn't even ask for a job. She came because it gave her something she'd lost: purpose. Teaching wasn't just what she did, it was who she was. Outside, she was just another face on the street. Inside those walls, she was someone again, respected, heard and needed. And the students, they started to feel it too. They saw beyond the coat, and the scarf, and the rough hands. They saw Dr. Monroe, the woman who could challenge their minds and open their hearts. She made me love thinking again, one student said. She listens like she really cares, said another. Professor Ellis saw it too, the light coming back into her eyes. The way she sat straighter, spoke louder, laughed more. He realized then, sometimes the smartest people don't just live in books, they sit quietly on benches, waiting for someone to remember them. But Lillian's story wasn't finished yet, and the biggest surprise was still to come. Word began to spread across campus. More professors invited her to sit in, then to speak, then to co-lead discussions. The dean stopped by one afternoon and listened as she led a talk on ethics and modern-day leadership. Afterward, he nodded and said, "We could use more voices like yours." A week later, a letter arrived. It was official. Lillian had been offered a part-time position as a guest lecturer, with a small stipend and access to campus resources, including the staff lounge and library. But that wasn't all. One morning, as she walked to campus, she noticed something taped to the bench where she once sat. A paper sign with her name, reserved Dr. Lillian Monroe, philosopher in residence. She stared at it for a long time. Then, slowly, she smiled. What started with a cup of coffee and a single conversation turned into something much bigger than anyone expected. The winter passed, and spring came with blooming flowers and brighter skies. Monroe, no longer just the bench lady, had her own nameplate, her own classroom hours, and a quiet line of students who came for advice, support, and wisdom. But something else happened, too. Her story lit a fire across campus. The student council started a new program, Second Seat, offering free community classes to adults without access to college. The philosophy club raised money to help homeless individuals get food, supplies, and tutoring help, because they realized that wisdom doesn't only live in textbooks. And Professor Ellis, he received a faculty award for community engagement, but he gave it away to Lillian, he said at the ceremony, because she taught all of us something important. Learning doesn't stop when life gets hard, and kindness can be the start of everything. And sometimes, when we open the door for just one person, an entire hallway lights up. It didn't happen all at once, but slowly, people began to see her differently. She wasn't just the woman outside, with the big coat and quiet eyes. She was Professor Elaine, a woman who once stood in classrooms, helped students chase their dreams, and believed learning was for everyone, rich or poor, lost or found. She taught again, not in the same way she once did, but with her stories, her kindness, her strength. Some students came by just to talk to her during lunch. Others brought her tea, notebooks, or even helped her set up small study groups under the tree where she used to sit. The college even started a small fund for housing and mental health support. They named it the Elaine Hope Fund. It was the first of its kind at that school. And Professor Daniels, he said he didn't save her. She reminded him why he started teaching in the first place. Because learning isn't just about books and lectures, it's about understanding people's journeys. Elaine learned something too. Even when life falls apart, the love you once gave has a way of finding its way back to you. It might take time, it might look different than you imagined, but hope once planted never really dies. She no longer sat outside the college. Now she sat inside, with students listening, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Her voice had returned, so had her purpose, and it all began because one person decided to see her, not as a problem, but as a story still being written. Because sometimes, the people we walk past every day are the very ones we should be learning from. Have you ever judged someone before knowing their full story? Let us know your thoughts below. Like this video if Elaine's journey touched your heart. Subscribe for more emotional stories that remind us how powerful compassion can be.